Hey, greetings, everyone. Welcome to the Steadfast and Loyal program.
You gotta light 'em up before they burn it down. Better dig deep and put 'em in the ground. Blood on their hands, they're hellbound. Save us all. Ooh, they're gonna burn it down. Save us all before they burn it down.
Hey, greetings, everyone. Welcome back to the Steadfast and Loyal program. And it's that time to start getting ready for the November elections. A lot of issues out there before us, and especially here in Texas. And one of the people that recently was successful in his primary race was U.S. Navy Commander retired Jay Furman. And he is going to be facing off against Democrat incumbents Henry Cuellar. Could be an opportunity to find a seat that gets picked up to help in the House of Representatives. Jay Furman retired after 28 years of military service, helping our nation's allies, returned to Texas, shocked by our fake borders, lost freedoms, and skyrocketing prices. After watching similar trends in other nations, he decided to take a stand at home against bad policies causing problems that are clear and present dangers to South Texans' safety, freedom, survival for generations to come. Jay Furman, thanks for joining us here at the Steadfast and Loyal program.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me, Alan.
Let's get a little bit about let's get a little bit about your background so that people kind of understand who you are before we get into talking about the issues.
That's great. I appreciate that. You have great listeners, and I think they'll identify my military background. I began flying Blackhawks on the Texas border as a high school flight school kid. I was a warrant officer in the Texas Army National Guard, and that was a drug war. Went to Texas A&M University, did that through school, and then went off to the wide world when I transitioned over to the Navy. Flew the E-6B Mercury. That's kind of the air bunker of our nuclear triad. And flew that around about half my career, and then pivoted again to foreign area officer, falling in love with those extra duties as I was overseas, and then they sent me to Naval Postgraduate School, language school, and then I was forever abroad after that, even more so, Africa, Europe, Southeast Asia, and Middle East, and then fast forward to my last tour, Pentagon tour. It was my second Pentagon tour in August 2021 when Secretary Austin made the vaccine mandate law of the land in the military. I cried foul and pointed out how it was in fact not a legal order. That white paper, where I was trying to make a strategic argument based on just force, posture and just force strength, was falling on deaf ears. That white paper happened to be leaked to the media and went viral. And then I found myself trying to shout from the rooftops to no avail. Although the NDAA did, in the end, pull the mandate out of the lineup for the sailors and soldiers and Marines, airmen, and then I hung up my uniform, retired. And then pivoted back to Texas. It was always our intention to retire back to Texas, so I'm back here now. And I immediately got to work with a nonprofit that was countering child sex trafficking, used ex-military guys such as myself. Went down to the border for about 6 months in 22 and very quickly discovered our border resembles or is about to resemble African or just some of the worst borders I've been in the world, wherever they may be. And just for the fact of what we have ingested, which is weaponized illegal mass migration in my career and history proves out the most dangerous thing to Western civilization and modern and has been used as a warfare tactic against our own country. And Americans really don't understand that frame. And I've been trying to tell that story ever since. First, it was a documentary. But then we've then been convinced to run for political office to tell that story as well, to across the aisles, that it doesn't matter what your politics are, that our national security is under direct threat and under duress right now with a really an enemy that's already been fielded, among all of us. So I'm trying to tell that story in this candidacy. I'm moving back to South Texas and working on the border so much. I recognize immediately that the good people of South Texas and Congressional 28 are not being represented by the National Democrats that match their values. They more align with mine of God, family, and country. And this is a population that's 85% Hispanic, and a population that's going to remind all of us, I pray, and I hope that will remind all of us what our first American principles are, and what principles will right this ship. So that's in brief where I'm coming from and where I'm going, sir.
When you think about national sovereignty and security, that should not be a partisan issue. We are not a nation if we don't have protected borders. We're supposed to be a constitutional republic. And I'm quite sure that the people there in South Texas understand that, because they're talking about criminal elements. They're talking about the fentanyl. They're talking about terrorism that is coming across that border. So kind of give us a little understanding of the geography of Congressional District 28. I've been down there a few times with my travels, but help the listening and the viewing audience to understand.
Yep, Alan. It's I like to say it begins at the Alamo. That's in Congressional District 28.
What a
So
great
it starts
start.
in San Antonio. That's a great start. And then it runs down north of Laredo and runs the Rio Grande River, 230 miles to just past Rio Grande City, and then up. It's a big wedge that is really, the second. Well, it's not really. It's in fact the second longest border district in our country, southwest border, that is, and thus and historically, not only because it's the second largest, it's the worst of the worst. The Rio Grande Valley and Laredo have had the most guns, the most drugs, most money pass over the border, and heretofore, Eagle Pass and the great blocking maneuver for states' rights and sovereignty that Greg Abbott's doing, most people pass through. So it's kind of the intractable part of Texas, of a people that really. Laredo was its own nation state. South Texas, from Laredo to Corpus Christi, was its own kingdom for a period of history. It's a people with a very unique personality, and as American, or actually more American, I would say these days, than many regions. The patriotism down here is incredible. One anecdote: you can't pass a cemetery without noticing, just kind of eye-popping, noticing all of the national standards or the flag, the U.S.
Yeah.
flag, that are out of, it seems like, every other gravesite. The veteran support here is just, it's palpable. And so when you have un-American things happening through this administration that really are not posturing we the people for any kind of future success and hope for our children, they do notice. And I've started calling this border incorporated, Alan. It's kind of looks like, again, and some other borders I've been on, that it's captured by the money that's flowing across it. Of course, the world's paying the cartel to get into our country, and then from D.C., we're paying NGOs to usher them into the interior as fast as they can humanly possibly do it. So, and so what the reality is a lot of cash flowing across the border, and really lives that live approximate to a cartel reality. And there's no future in raising your kids next to a cartel reality, and that's growing north into Texas and more stark. Of course, the cartels throughout the entire United States, but they're actively recruiting for southern border operations in Houston and Dallas and Austin in those high schools, and corrupting our children doing so, and do it through really insidious ways like Snapchat and others. And they offer lots of money to just go drive one place and drive another. And they know that these minors that they're targeting, even more scary, can't be prosecuted the full weight of the law. And so this is something that's unwinding not only our physical national security fabric, but our cultural fabric. There is no future for any of us with this current reality this administration has ushered in, begged to happen.
You know, you're taking on someone that I serve with in Congress. He's been there for quite some time. That's Henry Cuellar. How do things look for you? I know that Mr. Cuellar, who is not exactly a darling of the progressive socialist left, do you feel that you have that opportunity to make a difference in this race?
Yeah, great question. That's really the first in everybody's mind here. Uh, the fact is, he's a great politician, but he does vote 96% with the Biden-Harris progressive agenda, legislative agenda, and in that, it's that's what he's there for. And so the essential thing that he's there in Congress, he's actually more on the side of AOC than anybody else. But he has nice moderate rhetoric, and at various times that are loud and public, he tries to say that he's tough on the border, et cetera. But he's until very recent, he voted against border strong positions, and Chip Roy's border bill, et cetera. And so there's he's basically standing on the barbed wire fence, letting people in. And he's profiting off of it. So you talk about, his moderatism it doesn't even prove out he's as progressive as this corrupt administration that we have. He is has it's alleged that he has profited, and the DOJ has indicted him for allegedly profiting from the state of Azerbaijan and a Mexican bank. And I think that's just tip of the iceberg. And moreover, he's pushed his family out front in doing so. So I can't think of anything more dishonorable, but he's done those corruption schemes through his wife and his child, and so now they're in trouble as well. And I just, he may have started out great. I know he's a lot of people's friends, but he's kind of lost his way. It would seem the DOJ. This is Biden's DOJ, mind you, and he has gone crossways with them because he didn't vote lockstep. So the Dems require 100% fealty. 96% is a pretty high marker when you're voting against the border that you're supposed to be protecting when you have the second largest, and so it's time for him to go. The DOJ is a 99% conviction rate. Senator Menendez is a great example. Was just convicted with less evidence than Henry has.
So
my chances in this election, look pretty good, Alan. I missed your whole question.
No, you got it.
Yeah. So bottom line, we blew the primary out of the water. It was a 4-man primary, won by almost 20%. 3 Hispanic gentlemen and great guys. And then in the runoff, because I got just south of the 50% needed, I lapped them and got 30%. And so as we push forward into the general, we're finding our assumptions were correct, that people are tired of the corruption. We did a snap poll the day after my runoff in Webb County specifically, 5,000 recipients, 500 respondents. 68% came back for me, and the straw poll answer was tired of the corruption. Doesn't represent who we are as a people. And the people of South Texas, as I described, God, family, country. And actually, I grew up hunting down there, and I crossed over at Nuevo and actually the entire border my entire life going into the interior. A lot of fond memories, which you can't do anymore, of course, right now. And most people I know haven't crossed in a decade. But it's this moment in time is captured in South Texas, kind of like 30 years ago Texas. They are holding on to a chivalry and just a sense of honor and South Texas value, or just Texas values that we can all relate to. And again, like I say, I think this specific population can and should remind the country what first American values and how we can all together get us back righted.
You're absolutely right. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a little short commercial break, and we'll be back with our conversation with Republican Congressional District 28 here in Texas candidate, U.S. Navy retired Commander Jay Furman. We'll be right back. Hey, greetings, everyone. Lieutenant Colonel Alan West here. United Patriot Coin is known for being one of the most reliable and affordable precious metals dealers out there, and it's a favorite of investors across the country. A lot of you have already gotten their Patriot Pack, which is a mix of small-sized gold and silver pieces, perfect for barter or trade if times get rough. They also offer precious metals bars and coins in multiple designs and sizes, so you can stock up on whatever you need. Now, they are launching Patriot portfolios for true tangible asset investors. If you're looking to invest at least $5,000, they will work with you to understand your goals and objectives. Then build an exclusive portfolio of gold and silver tailored for your unique situation. Whether you want to play the market short term or build a long term portfolio to create a lasting legacy, they can put together a custom package just for you. Call now at 844-202-7834 to speak to a precious metals specialist and build a Patriot portfolio that you can be proud of. Visit UnitedPatriotCoin.com or call 844-202-7834. Mention West Portfolio, that's West Portfolio, and get a free ounce of silver added to any qualifying order. Hey, folks, welcome back to another segment here with Commander Jay Furman on the Steadfast and Loyal podcast. He is running for Texas Congressional District 28, which goes from San Antonio south down the I-35 area to Laredo, Texas, Webb County, and covers a large swath across the border that we have along the Rio Grande over to Rio Grande City. So it is truly one of the larger border congressional districts here in the United States of America. And speaking of which, Laredo boasts one of the largest, trade crossings in the United States of America. Talk to us about that, because a lot of people don't understand. And do we need to put more pressure on the Mexican government as far as that trade that's coming across the border?
Yeah, great question. It's somehow it's missed by most Americans that, in fact, Laredo is so important to our commerce. It was just upgraded to the most, and this was just, very recent. So a newsflash, I guess. It is now our most busy border in the country. This beats like LA port. This beats, all of our ports. And so, and it's a land port. So that should say something. That's more of a difficult problem. So, to your question about commerce, we absolutely have to turn up the volume on commerce, because we're all talking about border security, but security, as you know, through your time and career in the military, Alan, that security is just the other side of the economy coin. Since back to the Barbary Pirates days, we have to have a robust economy to defend ourselves, and so here too, Laredo is massively important to that story, and when we're talking about a trade partner like Mexico, it's very important that we're on the same sheet of music. And if they're doing something to damage this economy security equation, then we absolutely have to lean in on that, because for the same reason that we're successful, they need to play by the same rules of economy and security, and that includes things like letting all the people through into our border. They need to be cooperating us in the way of taking the Mexican Marines down to their southern border and do a blocking force there, and then facilitating security cooperation with us to try to take care of this cancer that is the cartels that this administration has really created and empowered, the most dangerous illegal enterprise in history, I would offer.
When you look at some of the other issues, without a doubt, I got to talk to you with your military background, of course. Are you concerned about the posture of our United States military right now? I mean, you spent 28 years in, I spent 22 years in. We're just not at the right position, I would say.
No, sir. When you see, we have 12 gray holes in the Med right now that just steamed in, Navy ships. We have, there's perturbations happening in Tehran with Russia. Of course, Iran is agitating everywhere, and Hezbollah and Hamas are here. So we have this administration, this created crisis that they manufactured to bring in voter replacement, because they can't find enough Americans to vote for them, and the national chamber that's agreed to lower wages through this scheme have really been bought off and alive from our enemies. I'm calling the southwest border the new Maginot Line, All of our enemies of significance are mustered south, all of them. Not only the Iranian terror network, but there's North Koreans, there's Russia's been down there for a long time, and the Chinese are doing security cooperation right on our border right now,
Yeah.
and so that's really concerning. And everywhere I've operated in the world, that the Chinese move in to help you with your commerce and your infrastructure, that's really a Trojan horse, and they don't. We really have to flip our frame when we're thinking about the CCP, which is not mainland China and the Chinese people, but an evil overlord of a government, a Maoist government that's really encroaching on our near abroad. And so, and not only encroach, they're sending volleys into our country in the form of fentanyl and in the form of facilitating our open border and really fielding an insurgency north of 15 million people, that the center of which are absolute criminals and terrorists, and we know that for the ones that we've caught, and we've just caught a test sample of what's actually here, because every border patrol professional I talk to tells me we don't actually know who's coming in. And I know personally, and they tell me, the biggest litter I find on the ground are ID cards, passports, and work papers, and all sorts of other terrible things. But you could almost, from space, see, mark out our border by that trash, because people come in and they tell us who they are, whoever that is they want to say. Don Pablo, we probably have 10,000 Don Pablos right now, and what country they come from, and they just kind of, it's a created new America, and they can just say who they are. But the problem is we only bounce people off of the U.S. database, and a limited one at that. And so there's really no, even if you run biometrics on people, which we're kind of not doing, we don't know who these folks are. And so it's such, they say it's a crisis and we just have to push them on through. Well, really, we're putting the enemies among us. We're letting them crawl under the wire. We're fielding their Trojan horse, if you will. And these people are sitting impatient right now, and we're paying them on top of that, which is just just ludicrous. And what we have is a low intensity conflict massed force in our country. We won't take any sort of machines of war to take down our country. Mass is a quantity of its own in warfare, as you well know, Alan. So our public safety is really a paradigm of 9/11 or 911, right? You call it 911. Yep. And you pray they show up in time. It's really an incident over time paradigm. Well, once there is a moment of a perceived opportunity and really a saturation of America's finest first responders, well then people that given opportunity and given impetus won't hesitate to step right over your signs and across your curb and through your double pane window or your deadbolt at the door. Those aren't security measures compared to someone that's crawled over the Darien Gap to get here. In places they come from, high wall, embedded glass is standard for anybody that has stuff. Well, we all have stuff as compared to these folks, and so and we have our own criminality. To say nothing of that, look what's happening in many cities. Right now, just momentary lapse of social order, people go run for the stores and loot and pillage. Look at what England is a harbinger right now, or Britain. They're experiencing terrible strife with the social disorder, and everybody's looting. The Britons and the immigrants, and with impunity. And that government, incredibly, is protecting, that PM is protecting the immigrants for their barbarism. So we're in an upside down scenario. I think the corrupt people at the top are so bought into their narrative and owned by other entities that they can't really see the way for really safety for all of us, the rest of the people that don't, run things or sign, the bottom line of a Fortune 500 company that is, bought into new religion, the DEI. So we're on new ground here, which is why I love my district, Alan. That we have not left our values here in South Texas, and I don't think most Americans have. It's just the overlords or the self-appointed ones really are kind of trying to take the reins and move into a new social order, and that's not what our constitutional framework has made us so successful through. we're successful because we have God in our heart as a country, and we have executed government from the bottom up thus. And so we need, to quit the lying and the cheating and the deceiving at the top and start pushing leaders who agree with our first principle. So.
I've got about 3 minutes left, and so I want to ask you a double question. What do you see as your path to victory there in Congressional District 28? And the second thing is, we talked about the corruption, we talked about the border. Is the economy also a big issue for the folks down there in Congressional District 28?
Absolutely. I think the economy is a manifestation of our security dilemma and all these bad policies. But economy does resonate highest with folks because we all have to get day by day. And so we start talking to folks in terms of gas and groceries. In fact, I'm the gas and groceries bus is going to come down and make some visits to South Texas, and we're going to have that conversation with South Texans. We're asking very simple questions, Alan. 20 years on, and really it's a 110-year Democrat rule, but 20 years with current leadership, are you any better? Do you feel better about your kids going to school in the morning? Do you feel like they're protected from their values, your values being changed? Do you feel like they're safe physically? Do you feel like you have a secure, their future secure, and you can provide for it like you could? When you go to the grocery store, what is that experience like? Are you able to bring home as much to your family? All those questions are just at levels that we never thought possible. And so, you've got massive human capital in South Texas that is just untapped and been, kind of just captured for the Democrat machine. That you've got amazing, folks that given opportunity and getting off of the sort of handout politics that is just rampant of redistribution really, and the other side can't just can't right now give away our money fast enough to try to stay in office. No new ideas other than just redistribution of wealth and really thing to take us to next level, the American idea, and that sort of dependency is the most dehumanizing, humiliating thing possible. Seen it all over the world that our well-intended idea of welfare has actually captured populations into not becoming their full potential, and that's all of us. It's human nature. So path to victory is really to tell the South Texans, the South part of my, the South Texan story to the country. These folks need to be heard nation or coast to coast, because really we can be the bannerman, if you will, the guidon bearer for the rest of the Hispanic population nationwide, which I think is going to save this country with the characteristics that I've described, as we all acknowledge. And then the path to victory is just get people out to vote. There's 70% of the population that's not paying attention. They're winding their watch. Well, if they're winding their watch, all the way through November 6th, past Election Day on November 5th, we're going to lose the chance to ever do it again. So this is a one-time moment that we have to activate, like World War II public response to a war, because we are in World War III right now. It's just a hybrid war. It's a different kind of warfare. We're under attack by drugs, by immigration, and fiscally, and really fiscal and the physical attack on us are the mainline attacks, and the cultural one in the middle that keeps on blooding our nose is the distracting one. All important, but really we need to focus on those mainline attacks, because those are the nearest alligators to the boat, and those bills are coming due this November.
How can people connect with you and follow your campaign and support you as you run to be the next member of Congress from Congressional District 28?
Thanks for that, Alan. We have a new app. So the easiest thing to do is go in the App Store and download Commander Furman. You have to spell it all out. And then I'm also at commanderfurman.com, and that's spelled Furman. Or you can simply type in jfurman.com. It'll come up as well. So JAYFURMAN. Please connect with our campaign. Our campaign is about electoral integrity. Our campaign is about representing our views, whatever your political views are, correctly expressed at the ballot box. We're a campaign of action. Our catchphrase is enough talk, and Texas is America's Alamo. So every one of my platform items, as you will, well appreciate, Alan, we're operationally minded here. So land, liberty, prosperity, our platform has an attendant operation next to each one of those things. Engage with us and figure out what that is, and everybody can take back a little power and get directly and actively involved in doing real things for the future of our children.
Well, Jay Furman, I want to thank you. You know, back 13 years ago, I started the Guardian Fund PAC to get more military minority constitutional conservatives elected to office. And I'm glad to see you, my veteran brother sailor, stepping up to the plate and continuing your oath to support and defend the Constitution in this great nation. So God bless you in your travels, Jay. Thanks so much for joining us here at the Steadfast and Loyal program.
You as well, Alan. Take care.
Hua. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on this episode of the Steadfast and Loyal program. And please follow the Jay Furman's campaign and also follow Pete Morocco with his Operation Hero initiative that is trying to turn things around here in the city of Dallas and Dallas County. God bless you all. God keep you.
Before they burn it down.